And welcome to the Basics of Christianity and Islam, sponsored by the Atlas Foundation of Louisiana. Everyone has been muted by Hassan, our tech genius, who's serving as our host. Please make sure that your name and affiliation, if you wish, is showing on your screen so everyone can know who's in the class with us. That way we can also respond appropriately to your questions or comments after Father Buddy and Dr. Fevzi's presentations. My name is Richard Saxer. I'm a Christian, an active member of Trinity Episcopal Church in New Orleans. I'm also the moderator of the class. I'll keep the class flowing. I'll welcome you each week, introduce the weekly topic, and moderate the question-answer session. Our instructors for the class are Dr. Fevzi Sarraq and Father Buddy Noel. Dr. Fevzi is a Muslim and a professor of political science at the Louisiana State University. Father Buddy is a priest in the Roman Catholic Church. He's pastor of 2 congregations in the greater New Orleans area and the ecumenical officer of the Archdiocese of New Orleans. All of us, Dr. Fevzi, Father Buddy, and I, we all are members of the Atlas Foundation of Louisiana, and we are excited about our class this evening and welcome you. Basics of Christianity and Islam is a 6-week Zoom course on consecutive Thursday nights from September 10 tonight through October 15. Our class time is 1 hour from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. We're recording the class and probably will post it on social media after the conclusion of the series. If you don't want your identity to be shown on the social media posting, please let us know and we'll do our best to accommodate that. During the presentations, if you have questions or comments, please send them to me by chat. And then we can ask Dr. Fevzi or Father Buddy to answer them at the end of the evening. Every night there are 3 20-minute segments, a presentation on the evening's topic for 20 minutes from the perspective of Islam, and 20 minutes from the perspective of Christianity, followed by a 20-minute question-answer period. We have only 1 hour for the class and want to give our presenters as much time as possible. So we ask you please to keep your computer or phone on mute. We invite questions and comments, but ask that you send them during the chat, during the presentation. Then I can consolidate them and ask them of our presenters during the final 20 minutes. This evening's class is faith. Faith. What is the basic faith of Islam? What is the basic faith of Christianity? And now we begin. I give you our presenters, Dr. Fevzi Sarraq and Father Buddy Noel. Our first presenter on the faith of Islam is Dr. Fevzi. Dr. Fevzi.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am very excited to start the program. And I was looking forward to this event. And thanks for coming and thanks for having me in this event. Actually, I set up a presentation room for you for today. And in our table today, we will delve into Islamic faith. Next week, we will go through practices, different sects, image of others, Christian Muslim encounters, and special topics on behalf of this course. So, yeah, it's working. So this is our table. This is our presentation table. Right now we have different folders on our table. So what are these folders? Islamic faith has 6 building blocks. And without any of them, you cannot call a person Muslim, without any of that beliefs. So I will just briefly go into each of these blocks one by one. And my purpose is you to learn what your Muslim neighbor believes, basically. So let's go into the first building block of that Islamic tradition or Islamic faith. So the first one is Allah. Allah, let me try to see my own presentation. So in Islam, Allah is the one, and it is a strictly monotheistic religion. Islam firstly rejects polytheism and also idolatry. And Allah in Islam is described and referred to by several names and attributes. So you can know Allah, you can know God. First of all, Allah is the creator of all things and is all powerful, all knowing, all merciful, and omnipotent. So if you want to kind of have detailed information, detailed knowledge about Islamic faith, I encourage you to get into these names, because the core concept is, of course, Allah is the creator. And the main purpose of human being is to know him in Islamic tradition. The others are secondary, but the main purpose of existence is to know him. And let's continue to present the attributes of Allah. Allah has no offspring, no race, no gender, no body, and is unaffected by the characteristics of human life. And he is strictly singular, unique, and inherently one. So let me state one verse from the Quran. It says that no vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is above all comprehension, yet is acquainted with all things. So it is the core concept of Islamic faith. And in Islam, there are no intermediaries, because Allah is the closest one to us, comparing to any other human beings, any other spiritual beings, and so on. Because in the Quran, it says that I am nearer to man than his jugular vein. It is so clear that he is the closest. He is the closest to every and each human being. And like I said before, the purpose of the existence is to worship and to know God. And actually, there is a concept in Islam, and the name of the concept is taqwa, and it means consciousness and awareness of God. And actually, two concepts in Islam or in Quran attracts me a lot. One of them is muttaqin, two group of people. It means that the people who has taqwa, who has awareness of God, who has consciousness of God. The second one is righteousness, righteous people. In Arabic, it's called salihun. So these two concepts are at the center of Islamic tradition, and Allah wants us to be muttaqin, to be aware of himself, to have this consciousness, and also to be righteous. So this is the first building blocks of Islamic faith. So let's go to the second one. What is the second one? Second building block is the Day of Judgment, believing in the day of judgment and life after death. So what are these two concepts? It is closer to the Christian faith, actually. On the day of judgment, humans will be judged for their actions in this life. Some will be rewarded with Jannah, with heaven. Some others will be punished with hell, with Jahannam. A passage, a verse from Quran says that, so whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will also see it. So the reward is Jannah, is the heaven, the paradise, and the punishment is the hell. And heaven is a place of joy and blessings. Hell, in contrast, is a place of punishment. And in Quran, you can have many, how can I say, vivid visualizations about heaven and hell. So in a Muslim mind, there is always a balance, that contradictory balance, yes. A Muslim have hope, always has to have hope, because there is a Jannah, and struggle to go into the Jannah, and also has to be worried, has to have fear of hell. And one of the closest friends of Muhammad, Umar, is saying that even if there is stated that there will be one person who will be rewarded by the paradise, I am very much hopeful that I will be one of them, or I will be the one who will get the reward. But on the other hand, even if it is stated that there will be one person who will go to the hell, I'm scared. I'm very much scared and worried because there is an option for me. The place is an option, is a reality for my future. So this contradictory balance, these vivid explanations and visualizations are also part of Islamic faith and Islamic belief. And it is also good to say that the time of the hour or the day of judgment is preordained by God, but unknown, absolutely unknown to any human being. And in the Quran, also the trials, the tribulations preceding and during the Qiyamah, during the last hour, the hour, or the day of judgment, is vividly described, is vividly visualized in Quran and in sayings of Muhammad, and it is part of also Islamic belief. So let's go to the third one, third building block. It is divine decree. So in Islam, everything, including good or bad, doesn't matter, have been decreed. Whatever happens in one's life is preordained. Believers should respond to the good or bad that befalls them with thankfulness and patience. And it is important to say that this concept, this divine decree concept, does not negate the concept of free will. What I mean, it is actually a result of the name, one of the name of Allah, all-knowing. Just today before the course, I checked out the next, for example, next sun eclipse, solar eclipse. And do you know when is the date of next solar eclipse? it is on April 28, 2024, and the greatest eclipse will be at 6 p.m., 6:18 in 29 seconds. So there is an exact time for that solar eclipse. And where will it be, that greatest solar eclipse? In Mexico, in the city of Durango, and also in the town of Nanas. So we know exact time and exact place of next solar eclipse, because we have that capacity, that knowledge to know that reality. Not because we know that reality happens, because that reality will happen, we know. Because, and let me go to the divine decree and all-knowing name of Allah. Because Allah is all-knowing, Allah's capacity of knowledge includes all things in the future or in the past. And it is easy to say that Allah knows all of the future events, not because all of the future events will happen because Allah knows, because they will happen, Allah knows. And there is not, the time is kind of a limited concept of this world. And in the afterlife, or when you change your spectrum, the time also is a kind of being meaningless, can be a meaningless phenomenon. So it is not kind of, this concept does not negate the concept of free will. Islam is kind of, Islamic belief support, encourage people to do good things by their own free will. And also this belief includes divine decree behind every good or bad things, basically. So till now, we went through three main building blocks. The first one was the belief in God, believing God. The second one was the belief in the day of judgment and the life after that. And the third one was the divine decree. So let's go to the fourth one. And as you remember, we said that Allah wants us to be conscious, to aware of himself. So in the time period, in different time periods, Allah revealed holy books or scriptures to a number of prophets. And Quran itself mentions some of them, including Quran given to Muhammad, Torah given to Moses, Gospels given to Jesus, Psalms given to David, and also scrolls of Abraham given to Abraham. So all of them, it is easy for us, for a Muslim, from an Islamic perspective, say that Islam is not just a new religion. Let me say that. It was there at the beginning of the history, beginning of the life. And it is a kind of continuation of knowledge, continuation of the competition between good and bad, and so on. So Islam positioned itself as a continuation of Judeo-Christian tradition, or parts of Abrahamic traditions. A Muslim not should, but have to. A Muslim has to believe the books. And the people of the book is a special concept in Quran. In Arabic, it is called Ahl al-Kitab. So, we will, when we come to the fourth week, the image of others, the others according to Islamic perspective, I will delve into that concept, the people of book and the other books and the other prophets according to Islamic tradition. But if you ask any question, I would be happy to answer today. But like I said, it is a whole chapter or whole week which we will delve into in the fourth week. So let's go into Quran. What kind of book Quran is? Actually, Quran is a miracle according to Muslims. It is a direct words of Allah revealed to human beings. So from that perspective, you can imagine that each words, each even letters are holy and blessed, or is seen by Muslims as holy and blessed. So it is very much important, and it is at the center. It is it is the main concept, core element of Islamic faith. This is Quran. Let me show it to you. Basically, it is around 600 pages, sorry. It has 114 chapters, and it had been revealed between 610 and 632 in 23 years. It is Arabic, and it is an important kind of concept to understand Islamic mind or Muslims' mind. Muslims don't say any translation, don't name any translation as Quran. For example, this is a Turkish translation of Quran. We called it Me'al, not Quran. The Quran is this, not this. And it is Arabic. And of course, Muslims have their own interpretation or exegesis. And even one verse can be explained in a book. There are exegesis of thousands of pages. And Muslims believe that Quran does not carry any human elements. It's important. Any kind of human elements. There are many Muslims memorize this book word by word, these 600 pages, and the number of that Muslims are not kind of small. There are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. They called Hafiz because of that holiness. They believe that holiness. They memorize the Quran from the beginning to the end. And they believe that they don't have any human element in it. It is pure Allah's words. And it is important to also state that Quran is a universal book. Sometimes it calls to, there are some verses start with, all human beings. And some verses starts with, all believers. Some other verses starts with, all Ahl Kitab, or the people of books. And there are some verses starts with, all Muslims. So when you read Quran, you see that universal perspective. It is not a tribe's book. It is not limited with Muslims. It calls to every segment or every person's. and it is non-chronological in contrast with Old Testament or New Testament. It doesn't start with the beginning of the life and goes on. There are chapters start with Moses, then turns to Adam, and there are chapters starts with an event in 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and 1,000 years ago. So it is not a chronological book in terms of content. So we came, I don't know how many minutes I have, but we came to prophets. So before starting prophets, and I will delve into that concept in week 4, I have to say that there is a kind of, the concept of prophets need a clarification. Because I'm a social scientist, I am very much aware of the importance of concepts. When you say democracy in the United States and democracy in another country, I don't want to mention a country name, people can understand different things. So in my opinion, when I read Old Testament or New Testament, I see that there is a conceptual differences between Muslims prophets, or between the prophets in a Muslim mind, or prophets in a Christian mind, in a Jewish mind. In Islamic perspective, prophethood is a kind of highest level of human beings. They are protected by God. They are appointed as messengers by God. There are thousands of them, and Quran mentions 25 of them, just 25 of them. They are role models, and their status are very high. And among them, 5 of them is mentioned in a kind of another status. These are Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. So these are prophets, the beloved ones of God, the messengers, the holy messengers, the blessed messengers of God, the protected messengers of God. And like I said, Quran mentions 25 of them. And all of them, almost all of them, are also mentioned in other books, their stories. So if a Muslim wants to learn more in their life, he has to go to other books, go to Old Testament or New Testament to learn more and to increase their knowledge about their own religion, about Islam. And when we come to Prophet Muhammad, it was believed as the seal of the prophets, the last prophet. Because we don't have enough time, I don't want to delve into hadith and sunnah and authenticity of hadiths, but let me quickly say that hadith means sayings of Muhammad, and sunnah means action of Muhammad, and these two are also core elements of Islamic beliefs. And there are veracity or validity tests for hadiths. And most of the hadiths by this way, by these scholarly efforts, could be written, could be collected in early ages of Islam. And like I said, they also have to, a hadith has to kind of overcome a validity test, veracity test, before a Muslim could believe and act based on this hadith or based on this sunnah, this action of Muhammad or sayings of Muhammad. And the last thing is angels. I will just briefly review that. Angels are unseen beings who worship God and carry out God's orders throughout the universe. Duties assigned to angels include communicating revelations from God, glorifying God, recording every person's actions, and taking a person's soul at the time of death. The most known angel is Angel Gabriel. The angel brought the divine revelation to the prophets. His duty is that. And common characteristics for angels are their missing needs for bodily desires, such as eating and drinking. They are made of light, they are coming from light. So they have that capacity, ability, or specifications. So at the end, let me sum up the whole first week, though all of the items we briefly mentioned. What Muslims believe? One, they believe in one God, Allah. Second, they believe in the life after that and the day of resurrection. Third, they believe in divine will. Fourth, they believe in the books. Fifth, they believe in the prophets. Sixth, they believe in angels. So for today, that's all I can say, and thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fevzi. Fascinating and enlivening. Okay, classmates. I wrote down a whole bunch of questions myself. I see some thinking looks on faces. What are some of your questions? Not now. I don't see anything in chat, however. You don't want me to do all the questioning. Send me some chat questions when you get a chance. But let's not, we can't ignore Father Buddy. So think and find out what questions you're to ask as we turn to Father Buddy. Father Buddy, what's the faith of Christianity? And how do we know it? And then maybe during the conversation afterwards, we can do some compare and contrast. Thank you very much. Father Buddy.
Unmuted. I am unmuted now. I was busy trying to work with my PowerPoint here. So
we hear you. We hear you.
Yes, good. And it's not, there it goes. Okay. So I would like to say hello and thank you all for being here. And I was going to start my discussion with some of the basic teachings of the Christian faith, and I'm very excited to do that. So Christianity has 2.3 billion members today, and like Judaism before it and Islam after it, though Christians have many different denominations and practices, there are about 30,000 Christian denominations today. They would Most of them agree on the following. First, that God is personal, and God is revealed in the sacred scriptures, that God is the creator and the sustainer of all things. So I immediately think of what Fevzi said about the omnipotence of God, all of the attributes of God. Christianity would agree with every one of those. I particularly love the statement that God is closer to us than our own jugular vein from the Quran, because that does speak very well to what we Christians believe of God as well. And God is omnipotent, yet God permits us to have free will. So those things are very similar. And we also believe that our Christianity is an historical religion. It's revealed in history, and that God walks with people in history, and it has an historical founder, Jesus Christ, as Islam looks to Muhammad as the founder of its particular expression of understanding faith. So Christians also believe that God enters into relationship with people, that God longs for relationship with people. Though God is sufficient in and of himself, God enters into relationship with human beings, both individually and collectively, and has done so throughout history and does so today. And we Christians also believe that in seeking a relationship with the human race, God first established a people. He reached out to a particular group of people. He established a covenant, or a very solemn, formal relationship with a people, the people of Israel, the Jewish people. And Christians also believe that through Jesus Christ, whom God has sent, all humanity is welcome to enter into that same covenant, not a different one, but the same covenant that God extended to the Jewish people. Okay? Christianity also believes in divine revelation, and the sacred text of Christianity is the Bible, which is divided into two sections, usually called by Christians the Old Testament. The first part, which is the Jewish Bible, or the Hebrew Scriptures, as it's also called, are the earlier revelation. In no way, shape, or form do Christians think that by calling the Old Testament old, that it is obsolete. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But also the scriptures are divided into the New Testament, which contains the revelation about Jesus Christ. The word Bible is a plural term, meaning books. Not book, but books, okay? So that's kind of intriguing, and if I have time, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Christians then believe, since they use the Jewish scriptures themselves, they believe that they are in continuity with earlier revelation, much like Islam, and that they are the inheritors of the tradition concerning Abraham and Moses, and that Jesus both teaches what came before, but also reveals new teaching about God, and that new teaching has a broader term that we refer to as the gospel, the term Muslims use as well. And gospel, the word gospel is from the Old English Godspel. They just dropped the D eventually. And German is similar to gut Spiel, good news. So it is the good news. The good news is also a term that's used in the Hebrew text, prophesied by the prophet Isaiah, that said that one would come. It says, how lovely upon the mountains are the one who brings the good news. So when Jesus appears, he says, I have come to bring good news. And what is distinct, however, what is distinct about Christianity as opposed to Judaism and Islam, and that though Christians believe in the oneness of God and the omnipotence of God, that God is all-powerful, God is also triune, that in the Trinity of God, that in God there is a Trinity of three divine persons in perfect community and perfect communion and perfect love, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that Jesus is the Son of God. that Jesus is a human being, like every other human being who was born into this world, but that also in a mysterious way, through Jesus, God, the eternal God, experiences humanity. The second is that by Jesus' death on the cross and his subsequent resurrection from the dead on the third day, that action of Jesus, the man, and God unite God and humanity and signal a renewal of the covenant. Not a negation of the covenant, but a renewal of it and an invitation of people of all times and all places to join that covenant. And so the earliest Christian teachers, the followers of Jesus, the apostles, the disciples, went out beyond Judaism. Although they were all Jews themselves, they began bringing in other people of other traditions and ancestry and background to become part of the Christian tradition. So like Islam, Christianity has a universal outreach to everyone, okay? And so I wanted to speak briefly about this basic Christian prayer, the sign of the cross. And I did it on a YouTube, and I hope that it works. So I recorded it earlier in my office today and may explain a little bit.
Hello, I was going to begin the class by talking about the basic prayer that many Christians use each and every day, but not most Christians, and that is the sign of the cross. And the sign of the cross is made in my tradition, the Catholic tradition.
Oh, well, technology.
By using the right hand, and the prayer goes like this: in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. By so doing, the Christian expresses belief in the Trinity of persons in the one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, as well as tracing his hand or her hand in the shape of the cross, reminding us of the saving work of Jesus on the cross for us. See ya.
Okay. I'm glad that worked out.
Worked
Needed
great.
a little help. Okay. So I said the term Bible comes from the Greek plural biblia, meaning books, which implies more of a library than a single text. And I include a picture of an early manuscript of the Gospels, the end of Luke's Gospel and the beginning of John's Gospel in the New Testament. And that's a Greek text from second century, late second century, third century, somewhere in there. So I just wanted to mention that there are divisions in the Old Testament. The Torah are the 5 books of Moses, the historical books, the wisdom books, and the books of the prophets. And in the New Testament, there are the 4 Gospels, the book of Acts of the Apostles, the epistles of St. Paul, and the general epistles written by other apostles in the book of Revelation. And the reason that I put that in there is that Christians believe that it is as true authors that the authors of the Bible wrote the texts, and they were compiled over many different centuries. The books of Moses, of course, the Torah, very, very ancient, coming forward, and the New Testament, of course, written about 2,000 years ago. So there's a much longer period of time for the compilation of the biblical books. And that would be another distinction between the Bible and the Quran, which the Quran was revealed over a decade, as opposed to a long time of compilation. Okay, so that's what I was going to say, and pardon the technical difficulties. I'm still learning all of this. I've had to become also a movie producer as well as a pastor. So thank you for listening. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Father Buddy. And anybody who has worked with Zoom has had similar difficulties with technology and Zoom. I can attest myself. We have about 10 more minutes. I have two questions so far. Philip says, I heard Fevzi say Allah has no gender, but I heard him refer to Allah as him, no fault finding. We all do the same thing. But Dr. Fevzi, can you say more about, well, of course we don't anthropomorphize Allah, and yet all we have are human terms.
Actually, I mean, it is related to language and the capacity of language. For example, in Quran, it strictly says that Allah has no gender. You should either prefer it as a kind of, when you talk about him, her. You should use one of them. And generally, in classical Arabic language, when you kind of use he, it covers he and she. Or in today's current language, I sometimes prefer he/she if I don't, know the gender. But it's not kind of, you have to prefer one of them somehow. And in classical mind, it is he more preferable comparing to she. But you can, it is totally related to language literacy rather than theology. In theological perspective, absolutely, in Islamic perspective, I mean, doesn't have any gender or gender connotation.
Okay, thank you. Father Buddy, could you speak something about, from Christians' perspective, the gender of God? Of course, Jesus is a male. Mm-hmm. How do Christians see the Godhead gender-wise? Is God all-inclusive? Or does gender apply?
God is beyond all gender. So, and God is, like in Islam, there is no gender to God. God is creator of both male and female. There are attributes of God. There are images, metaphors of God, if you will, in both the Old and the New Testaments, which refer to God as male or female. For example, Jesus refers to God talking to his people, how I've longed to gather you under my wings like a mother hen. So, there are feminine images of God in the scriptures as well, but we understand them to be metaphorical.
Thank you.
And, Richard,
yes, sir.
Add something at this point. In Islamic belief, Allah, from a human vision, human perspective, it is not even possible to visualize or to cover the knowledge of Allah completely. The best you can aware of him, it is better for you. But if there are, of course, some representation or some descriptions which we are using sometimes. For example, as an idiom, you can say that the hand of God is on us. It means his help is with us. It doesn't mean there is a hand or there is a kind of visualization. And it is a kind of strictly underlined, let me say it, from Islamic perspective. And the Islam itself is strictly against that kind of visualizations, basically.
Thank you. And then another question from Paman. Dr. Fevzi, you said that Allah knows the future and also that all of the future is preordained. What does, Paman says, what is the meaning of preordained? Can you elaborate on that some, please?
Absolutely. I mean, Allah is all-knowing. Comparing to us, like we said beforehand, you know, it's not comparable, but we have a limited knowledge, but we can have ability to know some future events with our limited knowledge. Allah is all-knowing. So, you know, our capacity of knowledge is enough to know the date, the place of next solar eclipse. Think about the capacity of all-knowing. And you can be asked about free will, the role of free will in that all-knowing concept, or in that preordained future concept. You know, free will is a kind of, free will is very much important in Islamic literature, in Islamic tradition. And it is the concept why human being is human being. It is like there is a kind of, yeah, you can turn off or turn on an electricity of a country with a switch, with one of the action. But the electricity in that country needs a production line, a distribution line. Too many things is in that electricity of the country, or in that country. But you need just turn on or move a switch to turn on all electricity. This is the free will. It is very much important. It is at the center. Your free will can turn on, can be turned, you know, can move in that free will, can turn on an electricity of a country, or can turn off an electricity of a country. So that free will at the center, but at the end, the divine will is the divine will. And sometimes we have to face something we don't like, something we don't deserve, something we don't happy with. So in that time, we need to be patient or thankful even.
Thank you. Father Buddy, we've got about 2 minutes, and I have one follow-up question about the Quran. But first of all, would you, in a minute and a half, be able to say, what would you say about God, free will and God's foreknowledge or preordained?
Well, see, you know, I would say to that, God knows everything. So God knows past, present, and future. But while we continue to exist in time, we make our decisions, and God does not, you know, he respects our decisions, and he does not, you know, force that will upon us. Though the universe, God knows everything, because God created everything, and God sustains everything, and God is, here I'm going using metaphors again, cognizant of every event, past, present, and future. Nevertheless, he allows us to make our decisions. He allows us to choose for or against him. He does not wish us, I'm saying he again, he does not wish us to be automatons, robots, or something that he just winds up. And, you know, he wanted us to have a relationship with human beings. And so he wishes us to be free to make those decisions.
God is so all-encompassing and yet all unknowing. Sometimes all we can do is resort to metaphorical language, and sometimes all we can do is say, "Oh, thank you, God." And the last question, we are out of time. in 29 seconds, Dr. Fevzi, you held up two books, two holy books for the Muslims. Philip says, so is a translation of the Quran not called the Quran? Is it Quran only if it's printed in Arabic?
Yes, it is. I mean, the original Quran is that. And if anybody interested in Quran translation, I may advise a kind of the translation with some portion of interpretation, because the direct translation, I mean, if anybody translate an article from one language to other, especially if it's a literacy article, he may be very aware of the difficulty of that. And sometimes he should know that he will lose some parts of the knowledge with that translation, because the words is not exactly the words in another language. As a person who is bilingual, I can easily understand that. And the original Quran is, yes, Arabic, and it will be as an Arabic.
Thank you very much.
Now, can I say one other brief thing? That, you know, we
Yes,
have
sir.
many different translations of the scriptures. So, and there are problems in translation. So, you know, we get around them with commentaries and things like that. I'm trying to think of a quick example, but it's not coming up. But, you know, the ancient Hebrew text, like the ancient Arabic text in the Quran, or the New Testament Greek, that there are words, there are images, there are phrases used there that, you know, are very hard to translate. So we have a similar issue that way for certain.
And
Thank
let me also say that, you know, I was planning to talk on that in week 4, but when I sometimes read some passages from Old Testament or New Testament and translate in my mind to Arabic to find the Arabic version, I see that, okay, the same verse is in the Quran. I mean, there are too much kind of that without language issue, you can see the similarities very much easily. So it is another addition to that comment.
This is a wonderful, delightful, stimulating, and just marvelous hour that we have spent together. And I have about 8 or 10 more questions, not for tonight. I have them written down for other nights. Members of the class, what are some of your questions? Write them down. I see again some thoughtful looks on faces. But thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Fevzi, Father Buddy. Thank you all very much. Next week, we will discuss practices. What are the practices of Christianity, the practices of Islam? And so from the Atlas Foundation, I bid you all Godspeed and a good night. And God willing, see you next week. Thank you, peace, and good night.
Thank you.